So let's call this acoustic panel build part 2. So in the first video, I just showed how I had glued the mitered edges of the panels together, showed the prototype, and just kind of described what I was doing. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to be adding the mitered splines, which I'm using walnut, by the way, to the panels. And this has turned out to be a lot of work, but well worth it. Besides the aesthetics of the the splines add a lot of strength to the panels. So could I not add the splines, and would the panels be strong enough? Probably. They're pretty strong. I've done some test pieces without the splines, just glued mitered edges, and it took a lot of force to separate the two. But with these splines, they're gonna be, they're gonna be so strong. You would have to like hit it with a hammer or something to break it apart. So this is a test one I did a while back, but I decided since I'm doing all 8 panels in succession that I would create another test piece just to make sure, so that I don't go and ruin all 8 of my panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those off and sand this down and just check that my measurements are good. And also I need to make sure that I use the grain, the pattern of the grain needs to be correct. Otherwise, these are very brittle and just break off. So I also have to make sure that the grain is in the correct, going the correct direction in order to give this strength. So I'm going to cut that off, sand that down, make sure I'm good there. I just want to show you my setup here. Basically, I've got a stop block here, and I use this. I'm not going to move the saw fence now, but basically I had this up against here, and I just had marked the lines right here, measured and marked that, and then align that with the blade to make sure that's what I want, and then I adjusted my depth with this stop block here. So basically I'm going to be working all day on this. This adds a full day's worth of work, but I think it's worth it because it adds the strength and it also adds the aesthetics of it, of course. So I've got all my panels marked out here. These aren't all of them. There's 4 more in the living room. There's a total of 8. So I've got my lines marked out where the splines are going to go as a reference to make sure I'm cutting in the correct position here. So I've got all that done. And also I kind of smoothened out the edges here, got rid of excess glue so that when I put it on the table saw, I'm cutting the line straight and it's not crooked or anything like that. And then on the table saw, I'm using the reference line here, measurement line to mark to make sure I can just have repeatability and just do each one the same, because basically I want a press fit with these. I don't want them just to go in with no resistance, so I want a little resistance. So in order to do that, I had to be very precise on these lines here to make sure that each time I do it, I get them exactly in the correct spot so that I have a press fit. And I also have to be very careful of, I just want to show this first piece that I made here, because I kind of screwed that up and I wasn't all the way seated there. So I've kind of figured out that you have to tap these in a little bit to get them to seat, because also if you don't want to have saw marks here, if you see there, I don't know if you can see that, but the saw blade leaves a little bit of ridges. So by tapping these in, hammering, or not hammering, I'd say tapping them in, you sort of seat or press down those saw lines, and that gives you a nice clean edge like this one basically here. Well, that one has a little bit of saw lines to it, but on my prototype panel, it's flush. It's nice and flush and perfect, and I was able to achieve that by tapping these in and pushing down those saw lines and making them flat. So I'm gonna make a video. I guess we'll call it Acoustic Panel Build 3, and after I add the mitered splines and I've cut everything down and sanded them all down, and then the next process will be to after the sanding will be to add strength backings to them and such. So I'll make another video describing that. So for right now, I just go ahead and start putting these on the table saw and cutting the splines. Thanks for watching.